Hi guys, I'm Heath Manning from Manningcues.com. This video is going to be the first video on advanced kicking. Before we get into advanced kicking, make sure that you've watched the 3 videos I just released on track lines. These videos are very important and are implemented into how to kick. In order to find the track line, you need to be able to know how to measure the table, and those 3 videos show you that. If I want to give the cue ball a value, I have to give it a value on the long rail, the rail behind my cue ball from which I'm kicking from. So right now I've got some cue balls set up on the table. We're going to have a quick refresher on track lines. Right now I've set 8 balls up on the table, and I'm going to try to kick them into this pocket. Because I'm kicking in this direction, this is going to be 0. This is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80. The same as you see on that side of the table. I've put balls on the table for your reference so you can see the values and see them easily for the duration of this video. The short rail across from me is a direct mirror of my long rail, which is in front of me. The values are exactly the same all the way up. So when I get to the table, I can come up to the table and shoot these 8 balls towards this 0 pocket and hopefully make most of them. So to do that, I'll just shoot them right now. The horn. Okay, so I shot 7 of 8 balls in. This one hit the horn, and the balls were in different parts of the table all the way through. If you can do that and hopefully make them all, I was off a slight on the one. If you can do that on every shot, that means that you've got a really good stroke, that you've perfected the measuring of the table, and that your knowledge base gives you confidence to shoot kick shots. Now you're not hoping to hit your ball, you know you're going to hit your ball because you've got control of your cue ball on the table. So I'm going to grab a couple training balls here, and I'm going to take you through the first shot in kicking. The first shot in kicking is when you're kicking a cue ball to an object ball. Why are track lines important? I'll show you now. Whenever you're doing a kick shot, you're going to count up the long rail to give the cue ball a value. That's the first thing you're going to do. So if this is 0, this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80. Well, my cue ball is between the 50 and 60 right now, but I don't give it a value of, because it's in the middle here, of 55. This is not my value this way, because I am actually shooting in this direction. So if I'm shooting in this direction, my cue is coming back over the cue ball into the rail. In order to give it a proper value in the long rail, you have to be in line with these diamonds. Okay, so wherever the cue comes through the rail in line with these diamonds is where you would give it a value. Right now, my cue ball is basically on the 60 value to the 30 value. Okay, it's just a slight off, I'll move it. So I'm on track line 60 to 30, which gives me 0. So that is the track line. If my ball was over here, I wouldn't be on 60, 30. 60 divided by 2 is 30, which gives you 0. if I were at 50 to 25, I know that's another natural track line. 50 to 25 is another track line, but not close to my cue ball. So now I know I'm somewhere in the middle. So now I can start moving my butt around. Say I bring my butt into, this is 50, this is 60, I'll go to 55. Half of 55 is 27 and a half. So I'll lay my tip at 27 and a half and bring my butt to 55. Cue ball is still slightly to the left of my cue. So let's come up to 56. Half of 56 is 28. So go to 28 and go to 56. Almost over my cue ball. Go to 57. Half of 57 is 28 and a half. So there's 28 and a half, there's 57. Now I'm directly over my cue ball. So I have accurately shown you the track line to go to 0. Even though my object ball is not at 0, you have to determine the cue ball's value with a natural kick to the corner pocket. So we have given that a value of 57. So we're going to remember 57. Now we're going to look at this ball, and we can't come over to this ball and say, okay, it's in front of the first diamond. Well, this is 0, this is 10. So this is not 10. The cue ball is not going to come from that rail in this direction. It's not going to come straight at it, so it can't be 10. It's going to come at the ball somewhere in here. So the butt of my cue actually is coming more to 8 or 7 value over here, not 10. 10 will miss the object ball. So to prove the system and to see if it works, we've already determined that this is 57. If we give this a value of 7 because we're coming back through this direction, that gives us 57 and 7. Just add those together. That's going to give you 64. 64 then, you divide that by 2. That gives you 32. So 32 is our aim point on the short rail. So if we come over here and we put our stick over the cue ball, and we go to 32, in line with the diamond in the rail, not in front of the rail, right on the angle, right to it, right through the rail, is how we aim this. So I'm aiming at 32. Now I bring my stick back on that angle and set it on the table. Why do I do that? I do that because I'm imagining that there's a cue ball there. If I place a cue ball over here, aiming right at 32, in line with my cue ball, so that's the angle I'm going in. So I'm imagining that that cue ball's there, and I'm putting my tip right at the base of that so that I can pivot and bring my stick over to 7. So here's 7, and now I can see that I don't have a good angle. I'm to the right of my object ball. So what do? I bring this back till I'm over my object ball. I try to hit the full ball. If I want to pot it, I would try to come on the left side, and maybe then I would give it a value of 10. Because my cue butt is right on that diamond. But when you're learning and when you're practicing, you're going to want to try to hit the ball dead on. Because if there's any little inaccuracies in your stroke, if you hit a little hard, if you use any amount of English that you don't want to, this is still giving you a little bit of variance to hit one side or the other of the ball if you aim to hit it dead on. Once you perfect your stroke and once you get to a level where you know exactly where your cue ball is going to go, then you can start to aim to make the ball. So I'm going to give this a value of 8. So if I come back here, I know that this was 57. I'm going to add 8 to it. So that gives us up to 65. Half of 65 is 32 and a half. Now that half degree change over there, because we were aiming at 32. If I aim at 32 and a half, that slight difference means everything. So I'm going to get this ball out of the way. And I'm going to place my tip where the cue ball would be aiming at 32 and a half in the rail. Okay? Then I'm going to pivot over to my value 8. And I'm dead on the ball. So now I can confidently go over and shoot that. and believe that I'll come over and hit dead on the ball. And if I don't use a proper stroke, or if I have any English on my ball, you know, minimal English, I should still get a hit. Okay? So I'm aiming at 32.5 to make that hit. So I get down, I'm going to aim center ball high, and I'm going to aim at 32.5. And I make my hit. Confidently make my hit. One thing that I haven't shown you yet is when a ball is in the middle of the table. You can shoot the same shot over and over and over again if you use that system. Determine the cue ball value, determine the object ball's value, and make sure you're using a proper stroke. Not hard, not soft, just a proper stroke, and don't use any English when the cue ball and the object ball are in line this way. But what happens when your cue ball is out in the middle of the table? Okay, you're still going to find the natural track line for the cue ball. It doesn't matter where it is, it still has a track line. So if we wanted to find that track line, the way to do that is to count up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Let's start at 70. We know half of 70 is 35. So let's aim my stick at 35 from 70. Okay, here's the diamond, directly at it, directly at 35. Well, I'm not close to the cue ball. So let's go to the next natural that we know. Let's come back at diamond to 60. Half of 60 is 30. Well, there's my 60-30. Now, I'm on the right side of the cue ball. So I have to make a little shift. Instead of going to 60, let's go up to 62 with my butt, which would be 31 with my tip pointing. And now I'm right over my ball. So if I shoot that, I'm going to be on the natural track line to the corner pocket. So I've given my cue ball an accurate value of 62. 62 would then be added to the value I determined for this object ball. Now, if the object ball were out in the table, say both are out in the middle of the table, that value is still the same. That's still 62. But in order to give this a value, we have to come off of the rail where we're going to hit. We can basically know in some area where we're going to hit over here, and put my cue over my object ball, and it comes back through the diamond line at about 15. So to prove that, we would say we've given this a value of 62. 62 plus 15 is 77. Divide 77 in half. 77, 35, 38 and a half. So if I am at 38 and a half, okay, and then I put my tip where my cue ball would be, and I rotate over to my 15, I can see that I'm missing my ball. It's on this side, just on this side. I'm just not going to touch it. So I can't give it a value of 15. So I'm going to give it a value, maybe come down to 12 over here. So we know this is 62. Add 12 to that. That's going to be 74. Half of 74, 37. So now I can aim over here at my 37. If I aim at 37, I'm still in the side pocket. Okay? And I can come over and come to 12. Well, now I'm just to the right of this ball, so maybe I want to give this a value of 14. 14 on to 62 is going to be 76. Half of 76 is 38, and now I'm directly in the side pocket. Okay, because 38 is right back here through the opening. But let's just measure that. So we're at 38, and we come right at it, at the 14 value here. Okay, so what happens when we get into the side pocket? If we're in the side pocket, we just have to make an adjustment because we can't shoot there. If my target was 38 to make contact on that ball, I would have to shift to the left. You can shift to the right and up your power to try to shorten the rebound, but that's not an accurate way. If I were aiming at 38 to come over and hit my 14 through that ball, so aim at 38, come over here, bring my stick to 14, okay, I'm making my contact on my ball. If I'm aiming at 38 here, if I have to come over, say 4 segments, so here I'm at 38, if I come over, say 5 segments, if I come over 5 segments from 38, I'd be aiming at 43, so that would be here. If I aim 5 segments different on this rail, that means I'm going to be 10 segments out on this rail. 5 segments on the short rail doubles on the long rail, because we're aiming at half the distance over there, so this brings us back to full distance. So if I move 5 segments over here, that means 10 segments out over here, which is a diamond length. For every diamond that you're out over here, you would add 1 tip of running English. In this instance, we would be going to the right. So when I'm aiming here at from 38, I went up 5, so I'm aiming at 43. If I put a tip of English on this ball to compensate for that shift, I'm hoping to go over and hit that. Now anytime you use spin off a rail, you can get some inconsistencies. But I still hit my ball because I was aiming full, not trying to make it, and I almost did make it. Now, the only thing I haven't shown you in this video now, I've shown you how to kick from a long rail to a long rail. I've shown you how to give a value to a cue ball when it's in the middle of the table to find the natural track line. I've also showed you how to give an object ball a value when it's in the middle of the table by testing different numbers on the long rail to give it a value, and shifting over and coming over your ball to make an exact, an accurate value on this rail. The other thing I've shown you is how to avoid the side pocket, which you will come into. So for every segment you shift over there, 1 segment there is 2 segments here. If you shift 2 segments over there, that's 4 segments here. So you'd need 0.4 tips of English, almost a half a tip. The only thing I haven't told you when kicking from a long rail to a long rail is alignment. If your cue ball and object ball are in line this way, on this table, your table may be slightly different, but on this table, I don't need any English left or right. So if I'm kicking to the right, it would be right English, but I don't need any when the cue ball and object ball are in line. When I'm out 1 diamond in length this way, out of alignment this way, okay, so I'm out 1 diamond from my object ball. This table still requires no English, but your table may require 0 to 1/4 of a tip of English. If we're 2 diamonds out of alignment, okay, 2 diamonds out of alignment, you may require 1/4 to a half a tip. If you're 3 diamonds out of alignment, you may require 3/4 to a tip. And when you're up here close to this rail, you may require a tip. That's just to compensate for you being out of alignment. So you now know how to give the cue ball a value, track line to the corner pocket that you're kicking towards. You know how to give your object ball a value. You know how to give it a value on the rail or out in front. Now remember, when you're giving the cue ball and object ball a value, you don't give it a value of the diamond it's sitting in front of. You give it a value of the angle it's going to be hit from, or the angle it's going to be shot from. And the other big key to this is aiming at the diamonds, not at the rail edge in front of the diamonds. If you aim at the rail edge in front of the diamonds, your cue ball will go long and you will miss your target. When you aim at the diamond, you have accuracy. That's why they're there. When you aim at the rail edge in front, you could be out 2 segments on that short rail, which will be 4 segments out here, and you will not hit your ball. Hit these shots with high English, at least 2 tips of English. If you like right at the top of the ball, you can do that too, but I go up 2 tips of English, and I hit with very little spin. Your table may play different, but this table plays pretty true, so you'll have to experiment with your stroke and your table, but the fundamentals of this system will have you kicking confidently. My next video will be on kicking the cue ball from a long rail value to an object ball that has an end rail value. There's a slight little change in the formula for that video. This video's formula, very simple. Cue ball value plus object ball value divided by 2 equals your short rail contact. It doesn't get any simpler than that, and that is why the pros make their hit. This is what they use. I did not create this system, but I have compared all the different kicking systems on the market. I've spent the money and compared them, made a black book, tested them, and this by far is the most advanced and most accurate system you will find. Trust it. It will bring your game up. It will elevate your game. You will become very confident with this, and now when you get safetied, you'll be like, no problem. You won't fear being safetied. You'll enjoy it. And on a good day, you'll make your ball. On a bad day, you'll hit your ball. Great system. Works very well. Thank you for your support at Manningcues.com. I'm Heath Manning.